Hello everyone, Argsy here. Welcome back to Medicine Creek. Now we are out nice and early this morning, and if you'll notice the date on the calendar, we have skipped forward from day 2 of spring, or second day of early spring. We've skipped all the way through mid-spring, and we are now in the first day of late spring. Reason for that is that the temperature did not come good to allow us to start planting, so there really was no jobs to be done apart from a little bit of rock picking that we still haven't finished, which we are on our way to do now. So fields 10 and 35, the least field, both need to have all the rocks collected out of those. So we're out here nice and early, heading off to get that done. And once we've done that, we will be back and getting things all set up to make a start on our planting. Now we are going to be planting our corn first. I've decided which fields is getting what, so field 10 and field 22 will be our two cornfields, which should give us, after I've calculated all the tillable ground, that should give us about 75 acres of corn, and the remaining fields, 23, 26 and 35, will all be soybeans, which is about, I figured about 136 acres. So I'm hoping that that ground is going to be what we need to meet our target for our contracts. Obviously 20,000 bushels of corn and the 10,000 bushels of soybeans. But I've noticed there's been a few other farmers have been out and about. There's been some cultivating work done. There's a huge list of contracts actually at the moment if you look at the contracts. So hopefully we see some crops popping up on some of the neighbouring fields around about as well. But let's just head on down and we'll get to field 10 and make a start on the rock picking down there. Alright, so we've just arrived down here at field 10, and there's quite a few rocks as I look around. It seems to be quite a few out here, so we're just going to get straight into getting these picked up. Now, Perma's Modding did message me or leave a comment on the last video about the auto load function. What he pointed out, which I might not have been clear about, is when you turn the implement on, previously you had to have it selected like Thunder's built into the mod where you could get it to auto load. But he has it just to turn on. So you see we've pulled up here in front of it, we're not getting any auto load. And if you look at the implement in the top left corner, it is white. Now if I turn that on, you'll see it has gone orange up top and it's picked that rock up. So no need to have the auto load function that's built into rocky fields where you can auto load into a trailer or something like that, front end loader, those kind of things. You can just turn the implement on and it functions just like that. So that is fantastic little addition to the mod that Perma's made, and it's managed to get working. So I think it couldn't get any better. It certainly has. So I'm just going to rock around this field. We'll try and figure out the best way to do this. I still haven't figured out the best method for making sure I get all the rocks in the field, and like I said last time, they do get quite difficult on this texture to spot, this cultivated texture, especially those littler ones. But you see over in the distance there, we can see them quite easily on some of the other textures where it's where the view range is just a little bit further away. Also need to remember where I've put some rock piles around this field, and I'll have to remember exactly where I put them. So I'm just going to jump in and doing this. In fact, I might put this on a bit of a time lapse for field number 10, and we will get all these rocks picked up and put away. In fact, here's one of my rock piles just there on the right, so might be a good time to unload while we've got a few in here. So we will see you when this is all finished. feel like I have managed to get them all collected. I couldn't see any more out there. No doubt I'm going to have missed some somewhere. But there we go, we'll get those last ones tipped out of there, and that worked out pretty well. Thought it was worth showing there what it was like driving in a cab. Certainly I think it makes it a lot easier to spot, just a little bit harder to obviously navigate and make sure you get everything aligned. But with that field done, it's now time to head down to field 35 and get that done, and that will be all our rock picking all finished off, and we'll be able to get back to the yard, get the planters pulled out of the shed and get everything all set up to make a start on planting some corn. So we've made the trek over here to field 35. It's certainly quite a haul driving a tractor like this around the map. But here we are. Now where have we got? We've got a rock pile up there in the corner. So it looks like we can just get straight into this. I'm not going to bother time-lapsing or anything like that for this one. We will just get it done and catch up with you once we're all finished, hopefully. Won't take too long, although this is one of our bigger fields. So we'll see you when it's all done. I think that might just about be our last rock in this field. I think I've covered them all off. It's much easier, again, another tip. If you do it in low early morning or late evening, it's much easier to see the rocks looking with the sun behind them. You get a good shadow. But early mornings actually probably proved to be a good time to do it too, because of that shadow and shading. Made it a little bit easier to spot them. We'll just rip over here, dump these last two out into this pile, and then I think we'll I'll do one quick last little scan, but I think we'll just head straight back to the yard and start getting set up for planting. Obviously we need to get the jewels back onto this tractor as well. We took those off to do the rock picking, but we will need them back on to run the planter. But like I said, I'm pretty confident we got them all, so we'll just keep an eye out when we are planting. We obviously don't want to go through and damage a row unit or anything like that on either of the planters. But we're not even in this field next anyhow. We won't be in here until we're planting soybeans, and it is corn up first. So let's make our way back towards the yard. There goes the train. Good thing we're not going that way, or we'd be waiting for a wee while. So I'll see you back there, and we'll make a start on getting the tractors and planters and everything all ready to go. Just back here into the yard. We're just going to get the rock picker parked around the back here somewhere, probably just on the end of the shed. Might be a good spot. We'll find somewhere. We'll get this put away, and then I'll get all the tractors pulled out. Obviously that's going to take us a wee while to get everything sorted out, so we'll get the jewels fitted onto the back of this tractor, get all the planters hooked up, get the seed tender and the liquid fertilizer trailer all out, and get everything filled up, ready to start some planting. Alright, so as you can see, we've got everything out and all hooked up, ready to go. Now I'm going to try and position the first of these seed boxes on the back of the trailer. In fact, I think I've got them around the wrong way. I might have to pick it up the other way. Let's just have a look. We'll just put it over top of the seed box. It actually fills it up just a little bit because the trailer takes some. Oh, this might work. We'll look if we can get it in there. Alright, it took a bit of adjusting and poking around, but it is sitting in there now nice and square. So we're going to get 3 more of these and get that seed tender topped up. Then once we've done that, we will top up all the planters, get them all full here, and once we've done that, we'll make sure that the tender and everything is all full still, and be all ready to run down and make a start in the fields. Now we're going to split the 2 planters. We'll keep them running in separate fields, obviously because they're slightly different widths in their planting size, so it'll be easy to plant separate fields, but that's pretty easy because we're doing 2 fields of corn. So I'll just carry on and get this all put on, and we'll see you when it's all done. So there we are, we've got those 4 boxes on the back of there. They've all fitted on quite nicely. It'll take a little bit of adjusting and caressing to get them in there properly. There's a little bit of a collision here that I was experiencing on the edge where I couldn't load the forks down. Something like the CZ pack though would probably be quite good to use, because some of the forks you can actually turn that collision off, and therefore you'd be able to pull it out quite easily. So that could be something to consider upgrading to. It's got the auger there we need to pull out, and a little bit of a digital scale. I don't know if that's a correct read or not. 7,048. Not sure what that is. But we'll keep an eye. We might come back and check that and see if it changes or whether it stays static. But I think we'll go over, and I think if I open the cap on the planter, we'll drive the truck over and go and get some seed into each of these. So you'll see there I've got the lids open on both the seed boxes on the back of the planters. Now we unfold the auger here on the back of the seed tender. Hopefully we can just get in here, get close enough to try and put some seed in there. There we go, we're getting it in. We can't quite reach the actual seed boxes, but it sounds like it is filling, and I can see that our seed is going down in the tender, so we're obviously getting it into the right spots. And there you can see it coming up. So not quite ideal, not being able to get quite close enough. I wonder if we had it unfolded and the planter lowered down, whether that would make it a little bit easier, but we're not able to do that, or not doing that here in the yard. So let's just get backed up and we'll negotiate our way over to the other planter and do the same thing over there. Well, we've just done the same thing here. We've actually gone through and used up all 4 of those boxes already, and if I just try and see into that tank, we're not even halfway full. In fact, we'll drop into the tractor and have a look. No, we've only got a 10% of our seed in there, so we're going to have to go and get a few more of these boxes and get those topped up. Alright, round 2. We've got the 4 more boxes on here, and this is all our corn seed actually we have, so I hope I've ordered enough. It's disappointing if we don't have enough to get both our fields planted. There we go, we'll get that into these planters, or this planter, sorry. And there we go, those are full. So we've got half a ton or so of seed left in here, which, considering how much both these planters just took, really is not much. So we'll get this parked up here, and we'll go and sort out the fertiliser now. There we go, we've pulled up here next to the cone bottom trailer, and we are filling up with fertiliser. I'm actually looking at how much. I can't remember how much we bought, but I thought we only had about 1,500 gallons. So I don't actually want to put much more than what we've just done in here. I'll double check, or we might just put the pickup on the trailer there and just double check. Make sure we've got enough to do the other planter before we run out. We've still got another 1,500 gallons, so I think if we fill up the smaller planter here, and then whatever's left can go into the bigger planter. Obviously we've got the side tanks on this one as well, so that could take up a little bit as well, give us a little bit more volume than what we need. And remembering that soybeans, probably under precision farming, shouldn't really take too much fertiliser at all. It's not quite close enough there as we are at the moment, so we'll just pull up and get this filled up. So here we are, we've got 800 gallons in the front, and we'll just top off the saddle tanks as well. We go 1,300 gallons, so there should be another 100 or so gallons in the pickup in the trailer, which we'll go and get into the other planter now. Here we go, 177 gallons, so they'll probably have a very similar amount between the two. So like I said, hopefully that will be enough to get the corn all done, and like I said again, we won't be needing it for the soybeans, because as precision farming doesn't really have a high requirement for fertiliser. So we got 1,230 gallons. So I think with that all done, we are now good to go and make a start in planting. So we're going to take the AdRx up to field number 10, and the 7800 is going to go over the road into field 22. So I think we'll send this tractor on auto drive down there, and we'll take the 7800 up, get that set up and going, and then go down and start working field 10. So the planting convoy is off and out the drive. So it's nice, now that we're already in late spring, to finally have some decent weather and being able to get our crops in the field. So I've been looking forward to this, so we will see when we're over in field 22. Alright, I think nothing left but to get the planter unfolded, so that should twist around there, shortens the drawbar up just a little bit, and then we'll lower the planter down onto that column there in the centre. Then we should be all good to be able to set up a courseplay course and get the planter going. Now I'm going to do probably 3 headland passes with this if I can get it to work up in the narrow little sections, and then we'll just have the up and down rows. Obviously we'll start on the headland passes. That will avoid having to plant the compacted soil from turning on the headlands. Kind of the opposite to what we were doing with the tillage, where we were ripping those end rows or the headlands last to undo the compaction we'd done turning. Planting's different, obviously we want to plant into the good soil now. So we'll set up our course play and get this one underway. And there is our course. So 3 headlands looks like it has worked. Obviously course play's calculated the best way to be able to do continuous runs is in a generally up and down direction, which does mean a lot of short rows up in this section here, but it does mean there's only this little bit here which needs to be done separately to a continuous run. So I think based on that I'm pretty happy to press go. Obviously actually there's this bit up in here too which isn't quite a continuous run, but based on that I am pretty happy to press go. Now just the other thing to point out, with the community extension mod, our acreage down here is set to 0, so we'll be able to correlate the areas we calculated with doing the tillage with what we actually physically plant, and we'll be using that data to keep a track on our yields as well and have an estimation of whether we're actually going to meet our target or not. So I'll just back up a touch here and press go at the first waypoint and we'll see if everything works. Alright, well we're off and planting, so this is all going pretty well so far. We're getting our first corn in the ground. Surprised to see it doesn't have the row crop textures in this. I thought it might have, so that might be something I'll look to adding in. Obviously I had the tutorial on how to change the crop textures a wee while ago, so we might look at doing that for the corn in the future, but obviously it's a bit too late to do it for this episode. But we're just going to ride along here for a little bit, make sure everything works pretty well on a headland lap, and once we're all happy with that we'll be off to the 8RX and making a start in field 10. And just to double check that we are planting something, you can see that we are getting corn into the field there, and if we move over onto this one we are getting a planted colour, so that is good news. I was a bit worried because the corn seed had not really been going down that we weren't actually planting anything, but that's also positive that we're going to have enough corn because we haven't used much yet at all, so that's another good result. So let's ride along here for a headland pass or two, and actually there we go, we've just had confirmation that 8RX has arrived down at the field. So we'll ride along here for a couple of headland passes on a bit of a time lapse before we go down and make a start on planting field 10. So just coming around and finishing our second headland pass, moving on to the third one. And there's a few things that I just wanted to check that have interested me. Coming up on 9 acres done, this field I calculated at just over 36, so we haven't quite done a quarter of it, but that goes to show the size of a headland pass. Almost a quarter of the field is in those 2 headland laps we've just done. But the other thing I'm watching is our fertiliser consumption. So we've already used over a quarter of our fertiliser, and we haven't quite done a quarter of the field. So on my calculations, we will be running out of fertiliser before we get this finished. But it did pose a question as to whether I had automatic fertiliser use turned on under precision farming. So I'm just going to bring the menu up, and it does look like it is doing it automatically there. We've got the application rate, and you can see the nitrogen is changing. And if I just bring the mini map up here, it will show us the varying colours as we go through. So it looks like it is doing what it's meant to be doing. It does also look like it's going to be putting more fertiliser on in these middle parts of the field, where we're on the green versus the yellow. So it could even increase the consumption through the middle. So I'm expecting at some stage we will have to come down and we'll have to take the pickup to pick up some more fertiliser and then come back and top up the planter. So we will leave them going and head down to field number 10 with the 8RX and make a start on planting down there. So down here, field number 10 with the 8RX. So we're just going to get pulled in here through this field entry, obviously still having to access through the neighbour's field, which, like I've said before, is not ideal, but it is what it is. We'll just come over to here and we'll get the planter unfolded. Very similar animation to what we just saw on the other field. Now while we're just here, I'm going to turn on our mini map again so we can see our nitrogen. Just going to double check we do have automatic application rate turned on, so that is all good to go. Right, that looks like it is all unfolded, just doing its last little lowering. Now we've done that, we will turn the planter on. If I lower it down, we should be good to start heading off around the field. Now obviously I can set up some GPS courses once we do this, but much the same as what we've just done in the other field. We will work our way around here on, I think, at least 2 headland passes, possibly 3. I know obviously I'm able to probably negotiate the turns a little bit better. We do have a slightly wider planter too, so we're going to make a bigger headland just as a result of that. But this all seems to be running along quite nicely now. Our fertiliser is going on. Our seed must have gone down because it's at 99%, not 100. But it does look like it's going to be going down at a similar rate to what the other field was. So we're just going to crack on in here as well. I expect, because this field is slightly larger, but only ever so slightly, it's only about an acre larger, 1.5 acres larger than what the other field is, we should probably finish at a very similar time, mainly because I'm covering 12 metres wide, being the 16 row planter, versus the 9 metres of the 12 row planter in the other field. So that extra width should allow me to catch up on those couple of headland passes. Probably a few extra horsepower in this tractor too, means we might be able to go a little bit faster in a few spots. Plus this field is quite a lot flatter, so not as many hills to go up and down where we might lose a bit of power and a little bit of speed. So we're just going to head off and keep going around on this field, get onto some up and down roads, set up some GPS and be cruising with our corn planting. We're just finishing the second of our headland passes here in this field, field 10. Now I'm going to put it down to equipment error. Computer wasn't talking to the planter correctly, and we weren't getting our application rights correct for our fertilizer there for a period. Sometimes get these teething issues when you're first setting up a planter in the field. Obviously not ideal for us when we're trying to hit a certain target. Now that's the role play scenario. The actual scenario is someone's fat fingers press the wrong button on a keyboard. But it fits in with the role of what we're doing here, and I think that's a pretty good excuse. So we're just going to lift up there. I've set up a GPS course on the other side of the field, so we're just going to head over there start working our way back from the other side back towards the field entrance and carry on going with our planting. I've been keeping an eye on the other planter there. We'll just jump over. I've started on their up and down rows through the middle there, working their way to the right hand side, and everything seems to be going pretty well so far with that planter. So we'll just carry on going here and get as much of this done as we can. So I'm about 20, or coming up on 20 acres done here in this field of about 38, so just a touch over halfway through. You can see down in the bottom corner there we're getting all our nitrogen applied. You can see where we're up to in the field, so this is all going pretty well. I'm still on the fence. I think we started off with about 1,300 gallons of fertilizer, so if we're over halfway I think we might just about make it in this field without needing to top up, which would be very nice indeed. Save having to run the pickup down to get the fertilizer and save having to bring it all the way over here. So that would be good. I've been keeping a bit of an eye on the other field as well. The 7800 is struggling a little bit to turn on the headlands and has needed a bit of an intervention a couple of times, and the way it is turning is a little bit cumbersome, not resulting in the best finish over in that field, so we're going to have to go over and tidy up a little bit of the planting. I don't know whether having a bigger headland would have helped, or whether it's the saddle tanks possibly restricting its turning radius, or what exactly is causing it to not turn as much as I'd like it to. But something is certainly up with that, and not playing as nicely as I would like. But you would have just seen a bit of a montage of the planting going on here. We're just going to keep on going and get this all wrapped up before we wrap up the episode. And it'd be nice to finish with all our corn planted, ready to crack into the soybeans next time. So we've had a bit of change of scenery here. The worker was really struggling with this planter and tractor. They just were not able to turn on the corners. I don't know whether it's the sharp angles, obviously with all these little ins and outs on the edge of the field, some of the turns had to be quite awkward, and it just wasn't able to do it very well, and therefore we've swapped. The worker is over in the 8RX and we're going to carry on and get this field finished, because they're quite a way behind where we got to in the other field. But you can see just coming up here in sight in front of us is some of these weird little pieces they did when they were turning, and not able to get lined up soon enough from when they put the implement down. So we will come past and get those tidied up shortly as well. But for now, we are just going to carry on and get this finished. The other field is pretty much done. There is not a huge amount left to do. I'm used to a bigger planter though from what I have just been driving, but we'll move that over there. That looks like a better alignment on the edge. Don't want to be missing too much, or we will certainly not be meeting our target. We've done 21 acres in this field. It is a 36 acre field, so there's still a decent amount to be planted in here. And you also notice we've run out of fertilizer. I'm not sure whether that's the planter or the saddle tanks, which is empty first. But we have used up all the fertilizer in one of those, and we're on to the reserves. So I'm just going to carry on going. The other thing you'll notice, actually, before I do, is how dirty the planter has got. So there's obviously something in the mod with the wear settings or the dirt settings, which causes it to get dirty very quickly. So I might take a look at that as well and see if we can tweak that to not get quite so dirty so quick, and have it for when we are doing the soybeans, because that Kinsey blue is a nice colour to be looking at, not this dirt caked or mud caked planter we have in front of us at the moment. That's enough rambling. I will carry on planting, and hopefully next time we chat we will be all done with our corn. Just over here with the worker, and they're out of fertiliser, so my guesstimate of whether we'd make it through the field or not wasn't quite correct. We didn't quite get it done. There is only this small part up here and one other piece over where we entered the field. So I'm just going to carry on and get these done without any fertiliser on these couple of little sections. Obviously not ideal, it won't help us with our yields, but I think for the time and effort to get those couple of little bits done, it's just not quite worth it. So we will finish off this field, get everything folded up and sent back to the farm. We've obviously spent a bit of time with 7800 in the other field, and things are going reasonably well there now too, so we'll be able to get that field finished up pretty quickly now as well. So there you go, just so you can see it is a planter width and then just this little piece we're doing now that was left, so, and not a very long stretch of it. Obviously not ideal like I said, but we will make do. So we'll get this finished off, and what we haven't used much of is our seed. Less than 10% of the seed that was in the planter, so obviously the co-op overestimated how much we'd need for the areas we were planting, so we'll see if we can possibly get a refund on some of this. Not sure if we will, otherwise we'll have to hope it will keep in the shed for next season. There we go, all done. So we'll get this turned off, folded up, and back over to the yard. So we're back carrying on here with the 7800. We should see the 8RX just a minute. There it comes along there now, heading back down to the yard. So when they get back to the yard, we're actually going to get them to run down to the co-op and pick up a little bit more fertiliser, mainly for this field obviously. We won't need too much, but I think we're using about 20 to 25 gallons per run at the moment, which would mean we've only really got enough for another 8 or so passes, and I don't quite think we're going to get this field done in 8 passes. I know I sacrificed a little bit of fertilising in the other field, but I think for the fact we've got a worker free now and the fact that they are back at the yard, we can get them to run down to the co-op. Probably only need, I don't know, we might bring back 500 gallons or so. It'll be more than we need to finish this field, but it would be good just to have a little bit in reserve for anything else we might need to use it for. So we will just carry on and keep going until they are here, and we'll get things topped up and be finished with the corn. Obviously the issues we were having with courseplay and the worker did mean this field's taken a lot longer to do than I had expected, and a lot longer than the other field. I thought it might have been a bit closer than this, but courseplay conspired against me for that. But that is the life and times of trying to use courseplay in Farm Sim. So we will just keep on going here. We've got the workers back at the farm, so they will be off with the pickup shortly. Workers just pulled in up over at the gate over there off the road. I've got the liquid fertiliser, so pretty good timing too. We've got just under 100 gallons, in fact under 75 gallons just about, and we will pretty much use that up in the next pass or two. So we would have gone pretty close to getting this field done, but again we would have been left with some quite big patches that I really could not justify not fertilising after not fertilising that section in the other field. So we'll probably get this pass done, get the next one back down to the other end of the field done, and then it'll be time to go and fill up. We'll just get backed in here up to the tanks and top off what is in the planter. I'm pretty sure the liquid fertiliser we do have here, that 37 gallons, is in the saddle tanks on the front. There we go. If that's going into the back, then it must have been, because it has combined the two. But that has taken all of that, so that should be more than enough though to finish off the field. So let's go and get that done. So just on the last couple of little pieces here in this field, and we will be done. So it'll be nice to see the back of that. We've ended up very closely to the amount of area we had cultivated, tilled. We are going to finish 36.24 acres there, and we tilled 36.3, so pretty much about the same. There'll just be little bits, like you can just see on the edge of the field there on the left, just little bits like that which weren't quite planted. That will be the difference. So I'm pretty happy with that. I did have a look in the 8RX and they are in a very similar number. I think they had about 37.8 planted and we had 37.9 tilled. So much the same as what I was expecting, which is good. So now we're all done there. We are going to head back down to the yard. The worker will come down in the pickup when they are ready, and we are going to go and get this washed off and wrap things up there for the day. Be good to be able to move on in the next episode to getting all the soybeans planted. Alright, well there we go. That is all our corn planted. A very successful day, a very happy day. Pleased to be able to finally have that underway. Next time we will, like I said, be getting the soybeans planted. Whether we get both or all three fields planted in the same episode, I'm not quite sure. We'll just see how things go. We might have to be a little bit more efficient than we were this time, although we will be all ready to go because we have the seed and we don't have to worry about the fertilizer. So what will be interesting is whether the seed usage of soybeans is any higher or faster than it was for the corn. Obviously realise that in a real world situation, soybeans are planted at a lot higher population than corn, if I am not mistaken. Obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but for that reason we should be using more soybean seed than we do corn. So we'll see. It will be interesting to keep an eye on that. But that is going to do it for me. We'll get these all cleaned up and tidied up, and I will have a look in the mods to see if I can make sure that dirt wear isn't quite so bad. This one hasn't worn it quite as fast or got quite as dirty as the other planter, so perhaps we'll look at the settings on this one and see if we can make them a little bit more similar. As always, I do hope you have enjoyed that episode. Thank you for your support and thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.